Okay, so I'm sure many of you have the same issue. You have to forgive me, I didn't do my makeup this morning. You know, the garage cleaning issue. This is kind of a recent thing. The garage was actually cleaned just a couple of months ago, but we moved offices, and when we moved offices, we moved from an office with a warehouse to one without one, because now we have a third-party warehouse. So there were a lot of things that were in the warehouse that were not necessarily products that we were shipping, but maybe projects or prototypes or things that we were working on. And they had to go somewhere, right? So those are all here. And this is the result of cleaning out an office with a warehouse in it. Okay. And now it is a nightmare. I have a CNC mill here. For those of you who know what that is, I got this pretty wicked bandsaw which will cut through just about anything, wood and metal. And then I have a lot of ancillary stuff for the business, and then there was a lot of stuff in here anyway, but we still could fit 3 cars in here. We do have these shelving units along the center here. I mean, it's a 3-car garage, and the center part splits 1/3, 2/3, so it's not the center. But what I want to do is put some shelving all the way around. Now there is, on the other side over there, along the far wall, there is shelving, but crap. It's like for putting rubber hoses on it, and odds and ends, you know, little chainsaw oil and garbage like that. It's a tall order. Cleaning the garage. Look at me. I do have another question for you, though. Have you ever heard of the Fermi paradox? It's basically the discrepancy between the lack of conclusive evidence of advanced extraterrestrial life and the apparently high likelihood of its existence, according to, Wikipedia. But he came up with the paradox in 1950, which is only 3 years after the Roswell crash. So what information did he have at the time that was really this is peak ignorance, really, of extraterrestrial existence. Maybe just over the line back towards learning something. And so it's not a very good paradox. It's basically a way of saying that it's just highly unlikely. If we have so many planets out there that can house life, then why is it that none of them has visited us? So that's really just kind of a silly conclusion to draw, especially when a lot of people have been visited, and maybe into the hundreds of thousands, maybe even into the millions. We don't really know because people keep their dang mouths shut for the most part when this stuff happens. Who are you going to tell? Just look at what happens to people when they do. He also did not take into account the fact that if there are other civilizations out there, that there will be some that are literally millions of years ahead of us. So if that is true, and let's just say 1 million years, then these civilizations could have developed not just the iPhone 21, 22, but like things that are just so, and we may not even call them things anymore. There's so much syntax shift. There's so much stuff that just isn't the same, that travel around the universe could be instantaneous and very easily realized. And once one of these civilizations is able to travel intergalactically or even just intersolarly, they can accelerate everyone's growth. We just don't know the effects of that. We have to make an educated assumption. If we assume nothing, that's not a conservative approach. That's not taking a step back and being skeptical about it. Skeptical would be saying, how could we possibly be the only ones out there? How could that possibly be? We are the anomaly. The entirety of the universe has so many planets and places where life could exist, and it doesn't have it. That's not, especially when we have this blueprint here on Earth, that's not being skeptical and smart. That's being cynical and guarded. It's not really possible for me to get, it's not, my goal here isn't just to like take everything out of the garage, right? That's not what I'm doing. I'm organizing the garage. So the next step now is to build the shelves, because the shelves are what make it possible to organize the garage. I do have a fair number of shelves here anyway, but I want to build them in. You can see these blue things. But anyway, I'm going to make my own shelves today. I'm going to be making shelves out of chipboard here, this OSB, and they'll be 2 feet deep, and there'll be one shelf at about 20 inches in height, and then there'll be another shelf at 44 inches approximately. So I still am going to decide on those final dimensions as I do this. And one interesting thing is that the wood that I'm using is actually wood that I used on the racks in the last warehouse. So this is sort of they're just straight up 4x8 sheets for the most part. There's some of them in there are cut, but they're all being used as the same thing, just narrower shelves. All right, I don't really have the space to just take everything out of the garage, so the goal here is to make enough room that I can build shelves. Now, I've done that for this section, and I'll have to do this one section at a time. A lot of stuff outside, which is fine. You know, I'm just editing my video, and I realized that I never mentioned this is the very first video. This is my launch video, and it would be incredible if you could like and subscribe. It would help this process immensely, as you can imagine, to help get this channel off the ground. Thank you very much, and enjoy the rest. All right, back to the Fermi stuff. So the consensus has been that we have to, in order to be sensible, think that being alone is the baseline view until proven otherwise through science. But really, we have the same conditions here as those that are on millions, maybe trillions of other planets around the universe. So it actually should work the other way. It's more logical that the baseline is actually that we are already part of a galactic civilization and that we are currently in incubation until such time as consensus reaches quorum levels where enough people's consciousnesses are fully prepped for open contact. And that could mean a lot of things, and it's not necessarily a moral choice, but it might be a component. But this is all for transformative disclosure, the type of disclosure that transforms our civilization irreparably. It's a singularity of sorts. The paradigm has been that we are the anomaly, that somehow that anomaly is the more likely scenario, that our existence here through chance and, Darwin's evolution has brought us to this impossible place while the rest of the universe just never had that chance. But yet they have all the same ingredients. How is that possible? How can we be the only one? We aren't. It is much more likely that it is the same across the universe with different variations. Let's go over Occam's razor real quickly, because it is often associated with the Fermi paradox, or just the extraterrestrial question in general. People accuse Mr. Occam of saying the simplest explanation is usually the best one, but actually that's a poor translation of his more accurate entities must not be multiplied beyond necessity. That's what he said. And that's much closer to don't complicate things than it is to the simplest explanation is usually the best one. We're not talking about the best explanation. He's just saying, like, keep it simple. Because I mean, it's pretty straightforward, but I don't know. They love things like this, like Carl Sagan. Carl Sagan is one of his famous quotes is, how does it go? Extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence, which is just a false statement in general. But people love to say it because it's a way for them to dismiss extraordinary claims. But plenty of extraordinary things are going on out there that we're just not looking at because of a lack of resources or primitive tools than anything else. What is extraordinary evidence anyway? It's just regular evidence like any other evidence. It's new. That doesn't make it extraordinary. It's just like any other new evidence you haven't seen before. Which brings up another point. Evidence and proof are not the same. Do not conflate evidence with proof. People say, there's no proof of that. They have no access to the world's proof on any given subject. I mean, just zero, only what the media will tell them. And they'll usually believe that proof is evidence. And they'll believe that this powerfully ignorant statement is a mic drop. This is just a cheap trick for claiming a quick win through dominance rather than through logic. Look at that. Oh, just so nicely fitted. Just beautifully done. I can't wait. Why am I bringing these subjects up? It's because, in my view, they are the conversation killers. That we have not been able to have decent extraterrestrial conversations now for decades. And it's, I believe, intentional. I mean, that this language was concocted when the Roswell crash occurred because they wanted to cover that up. And we've heard for decades that excuse change on that. Each excuse making ridiculous the previous excuse. I mean, you have to be honest about that at this point. It's not going to be some pop scientist like Neil deGrasse Tyson or Michio Kaku who's our ambassador to the universe. They're scientists. The ambassadors are us. We need to start considering what it's going to look like to travel the universe and having other civilizations traveling to us and what our roles will be in that scenario. It's really difficult getting my feet into the right position here. But it's happening very slowly. All right, so it's basically in position right now, which is awesome. I feel like He-Man, like a master of the universe. But I need to move it just a little further. All right, can I have a round of applause, please? Okay, you're gonna have to deal with this while the tripod gets over the bike handlebars. All right, let's see. What do we got here? All right, well, anyway, you can see. Come on, focus, focus. Oh, lovely. All right, you can see how it's now touching the wall. If only I could get the camera back there a little further, that would be pretty wicked. But that is fitment, bro guy.
All right. So I'm obviously looking up at the roof, the ceiling here, the garage door. Um, so I'm concealing the surprise. It's pretty good. Now, I want to point something out about this. This is a stage one of this process. So the garage is now clean, right? Meaning I can use it. I can pull 3 cars in here. It is by no means organized, and that's an important step in this process, but it is another large step. Just as a reminder, I was starting off with a lot of stuff that I really did not expect or even want in my house. After closing a warehouse and moving to an office. But everything's out of the way now, and it took a lot longer than I expected. And some of that is because it was the summer, and my daughter is off of school. We're traveling, we're doing a lot of stuff, and there were just a number of times where I was just like, what am I going to do with all of this stuff? But I can tell you, perseverance will get you there in time. And the trick, of course, is to never give up. Never surrender. But here is the here's the result, okay? So, here we are. And look at it. It's so organized. You can tell. And I have a whole string of projects that are still kind of that are on deck right now, having to do with the yard, but I just wanted to get everything off of the floor. I mean, look at this. The floor is actually clear, if not entirely immaculate and perfectly and intelligently organized. I have separated this area over here. That's where my Subaru goes. And if you look at this, I had to be able to see it in order to make decisions. This is the whole thing about all of this, is that I can't, I'm a good visualizer. I can imagine what things would be like in the future, in the year 2000. But I cannot see the how and the details and all of that if the things are not relatively organized in front of me. It's amazing how many things come out of the woodwork when you're cleaning. Things you didn't know you had, dreams you didn't know you had. This is a real wonderful thing to have done, and it's a thrill. Now here's the other side. This side is the sort of the beginnings of organization, just because I have these plastic bins, these stackable bins. Those things will eventually hold stuff that I want to have close to paw. I have these blue ones too, so that's going to be another setup on those shelves. I have my mill where I want it. I have this other mill, which I still haven't gotten off of the pallet, but once I do that, I'm going to turn it 90 degrees, obviously, and it'll sit next to this CNC mill. So, hey, this is good. This is really good. And this is my bandsaw. You can see some of these bins here on the side, which are good. A couple down there, a couple here, and a couple in that corner. I'm probably going to reorganize those at some point, but for the time being, because I still haven't this corner here, I'm just stacking them and using them, for fruits and vegetables over here that my in-laws like them for that. And then there are bags and other junk in the corner there. Well, I'm glad that's done. And there are going to be a couple of videos, by the way, coming out for the shelf building stuff. Look out for those. Subscribe. And I hope this inspires you to clean your own garage and maybe have a couple of fun conversations with your friends. So, thanks so much. Talk to you soon.